Welcome to the Surviving to Thriving podcast that helps women leaders in nonprofits get out of survival mode and thrive in both leadership and life. I'm your host, leadership development coach Kathy Archer, and I help women leaders enjoy impactful leadership. Just get me through this day. Please just get me through this day. Just get me through this next meeting. Oh my God, can I just get through this accreditation, this big fundraising project? Could we just make it through the month? Those are all signs you might be stuck in survival mode. In last week's episode, we talked about the surviving to thriving continuum. And on one end of the spectrum is the survival mode, where you're barely hanging on, you're afraid of dropping balls, you're afraid of falling apart, you are running low on energy, and you never refuel, and you're probably not very happy with your work. On the other end of the spectrum is thriving. And when you are in that thriving place, you're energetic, engaged, excited to go to work every day, using your gifts, talents, and strengths, making a difference in the world. And most of us get stuck in the middle someplace where we are tolerating or settling. And we float most of the time between that coping, tolerating, settling place in the middle to survival mode. And today we are going to talk about how you can move from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and your life. Because here's the thing. You, my dear, have many gifts and talents and strengths that the world needs. And you and your organization are not going to be doing your best if you and your team are stuck in survival mode. You're going to become this toxic work environment where nobody wants to be there or everybody's just barely getting along. And that's not going to do the work that you guys were meant to do. You have to move yourself as a leader first, out of that survival mode and way, way closer to the other end of the spectrum so that you can strengthen your team and, again, do that work that you guys were meant to do. But here's the thing. Go back to last week's episode if you haven't listened to it. Podcast episode number 17 was the Surviving to Thriving Continuum. In that episode, I gave you a link to a download to assess where you're at on the continuum. Because if you keep ignoring that continuum, you're going to stay stuck in a place that you don't like. And you're probably going to continue to minimize how bad it is because you've lost perspective. You need to step back, take a good look at where you're at today, where you've been at the last week, maybe even in the last month or year. And if you can stop and kind of go, whoa, I've been hanging out in survival mode far too long, that's where you're going to go, okay, this is not good for me. It's not good for my family. It's not good for our organization, and it's not good for our clients. So rather than continuing to let your life deteriorate and that risk of burning out, because that's exactly where you're headed if you stay in survival mode, stop waiting for things to change and take personal responsibility for making that difference. If you go back to episode number, let me just look at the list here so I make sure I give it to you right. Episode number 14, when I interviewed Elizabeth Bishop, she said she had woke up, she's in the shower and she's going, just get me through this day. And it kind of woke her up to, I do not want to be 60, 70, 80 years old saying, just get me through this day. That's not the way I want to live my life. And what she did was she stopped and took control of her life. She did what I call the inner work. She talks about doing that self-reflective practice to start changing things. And that's what we're going to talk about today is how do you stop that staying stuck on that hamster wheel in survival mode and move towards thriving in both your leadership and life. And you will hear me say that often because I don't know about you, but it's not just about work. It is about my whole life. And I need them both to be thriving. I want to enjoy my work, but I cannot put 100% of my energy, effort, time into work and then let my personal life fall apart. I need to find that balance. And true, some days I will put more energy, effort, focus on work. And the truth is, if I'm actually thriving, there are some days that work will slide to the back and my personal life will take more of a focus. And we need to learn how to manage that and be okay with that. So to move forward on the continuum, there are 3 key things you need to do. First, recognize where you are. You have to get a sense of where you land on that continuum on a regular basis. Awareness is the first step to change. And if you think about getting a new pair of glasses, the first thing you need to do is go get a assessment of where your vision is at. If you're going to start a weight loss program or a fitness program, you're probably going to get a sense of how much you weigh, what your measurements are, what your capacity is for lifting, all of those kind of things. You're going to get an assessment, a baseline of where you're at. If you are going to start saving for retirement and you meet with a financial planner, the first thing they're going to do is let's take a snapshot of where you're at. That's what you need to do to move along the continuum. And again, last week's episode, I gave you a guide sheet. I'll put the link in below here as well. Go grab the Surviving to Thriving Continuum and get a snapshot of where you're at. And again, look at the particular time of year you're at, what's been happening. Maybe, like I say, we're in the middle of COVID right now. And so perhaps you've been really stuck in survival mode. And here's the thing, I'm recording this in July of 2020. We've been dealing with COVID for about 3.5 months now. So if you've been in survival mode for 3.5 months, it might be time to get out of survival mode and start to move you and your team and your family towards that thriving place. Okay, this is what we're dealing with. How do we use our gifts, talents, strengths here? How do we move into this new place? So the first step is to recognize where you're at. The second step is to set an intention. And I call this your thriving target. If you don't want to be in survival mode and you're done with settling or complying or tolerate that middle space, and you want to move more towards thriving, what does that look like? You need to create that really powerful vision of what it's like to be thriving. There's a guide sheet for this episode where I walk you through that thriving target. I give you some questions to help you to start to look at what would it be like if I was thriving? What would it mean? What would it feel like if I left the office with energy at the end of the day? What would it feel like to be engaged, excited? What would I be excited about? What kind of work fills me up? What's the relationships I really enjoy at work? What are the strengths and where could I use my strengths? What do I want to be doing in my personal life if I'm thriving in my leadership and at work? What does then that also look like in my personal life? So that's the second step, is to set that intention with your thriving target. So first step, assess where you're at. Next step is to create that thriving target. And then the third step is then to take action. You have to figure out, where are you? Where do you want to be? And then what do you need to do to get there? And so one of the things that keeps us stuck where we're at is our current habits. And our current habits that keep us stuck in survival mode are things like forgetting to eat, forgetting to drink water, and forgetting to go to the bathroom, forgetting to move around, booking meetings back to back to back to back without time to breathe between them. Or it's having something going on every single night of the week and wondering why you're drained. Those are the habits that keep us stuck in survival mode. The habit of thinking, just get me through this day, just get me through this day, rather than the habit of saying, what strengths can I use today to really nail this meeting? Or who would I have to be to have that conversation with that staff that's really going to bring out her strengths? When you can shift your mindset from just get me through this day to how can I thrive today? What do I need to do to thrive today? Those are habits of thoughts that you need to start changing. So we really have to look at how we change those habits of thought. I'm going to give you a couple tools. One is the book Mastering Confidence that I wrote. So in it, I talk about the inner guidance cycle, which is the sort of process that I want you to learn to help slow down your thought processes, to change your thought processes. So when you're stuck in survival mode and you've got that imposter syndrome going on and you're like, oh my God, I don't have what it takes to do this and somebody's going to figure it out and I don't know if I can handle this and oh my God, like I'm just waiting to drop the ball or waiting for somebody to notice. You can use the inner guidance cycle, pause, ponder, pivot, and proceed to stop. Take a deep breath, check in, ponder, what am I thinking? Is this thinking helping me where I want to go? And do that pivot. No, if I'm thinking, oh my God, just get me through this meeting, then I'm going to stay stuck in survival mode. And my habit of thoughts are going to keep me going round and round and round. And oh my God, I hate my job. This person doesn't like me. This is such a difficult person. She's never going to change. Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. You're going to stay there. But if you can use the inner guidance cycle, pause, step back. In episode number 16, we talked about discerning before deciding. And again, I gave you some guide sheet there so that you can go back and look at how to discern before you guide. In episode 15, I'm all confused now. Hopefully you're not. In episode 15 is where I gave you the guide sheet. It's the 3 journaling alternatives. And so that gives you that opportunity to pause, check in, like, what is going on? Why do I feel so stressed? Why do I worry going into this meeting that I'm going to be attacked? That's not what I want. That's how you're going to move out of survival mode. So in Mastering Confidence, I teach you the inner guidance cycle. So that's one tool that you can use to move along the continuum. Another tool is I wanted to let you know that inside the training library, I'm currently building a course called Wellness at Work. And I talked about this a little bit in the last episode. But the point of moving from surviving to thriving is that you have to learn how to recharge and re-energize throughout the day. Your job is draining. Leadership is hard work. You are constantly under pressure. You have more work, more pressure, more expectations, more decisions than anybody else on the team. And if you don't learn how to take care of yourself, how to recharge, how to focus on micro moments of wellness throughout your day, you're going to burn out. And if you haven't experienced burnout yet, let me tell you, and Elizabeth told you in a couple episodes ago as well, it's not fun. Burnout is really hard on you. It's hard on the people around you. And it's not helping you do the work you were meant to do. I believe, and my guess is you believe it too, we were all put on this planet for a reason. And I think that every woman should get to go to work and use her gifts, talents, strengths to her full advantage. And I think that every woman should have the opportunity to be respected in her job and come home at the end of the day with energy left for the rest of her life. And that's not going to happen in survival mode. That is going to happen when you move to thriving. So remember the 3 steps to move along that continuum from surviving to thriving. Recognize where you're at, set that intention with your thriving target, and then take action. The action that you can take is learn the inner guidance cycle so that you can change your habits of thought, and then start focusing on taking care of yourself so that you have the energy and enthusiasm and zest to do your job effectively. Currently inside the training library, though, there is some really important courses and webinars that I've done that help you, again, start to do that pausing piece, slowing down, figuring out, okay, this isn't the direction I want to go with this employee. This isn't the direction I want to go with my team. This isn't the direction I personally want to go. How do I lead with integrity? How do I stay composed in this meeting? How do I grow my employee because I know that they have potential? There's lots of stuff like that inside the training library now. So if you're interested, you can find the link in the podcast notes, or you can head over to kathyarcher.com/library and you'll find all about the training library, which is a membership site. So every month you get a new webinar. And then, like I say, there are courses inside there. And one of the courses coming up is Wellness at Work. So let me summarize for you. We all hang out in different parts of the surviving to thriving continuum. You might be in survival mode. You might be tolerating, settling, complying, or you might be thriving. But if we hang out too much in that middle or that bottom dark place, you're going to burn out. And to move from surviving to thriving, you need to first recognize where you're at, then set that intention, create that target. We're teleological beings. We need targets to move towards. Create your target. If you've got no personal goals, you're not going to get anywhere because you don't know where you want to go. So set that thriving target. And again, there's a guide sheet here to download in the notes for that. And then take action. Do the work to take care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and start to move yourself along that continuum. Because that's, my dear, what's going to move you from surviving to thriving in both your leadership and life. Go make the rest of your day awesome, my dear. If you found today's episode helpful, then you are going to love the training library. Many women leaders in nonprofits wish that they had a coach or a mentor to help them, but they don't believe that they or their organization can afford it. Oh, but you can. Inside of the training library membership site, you will not only get access to affordable and easily accessible ongoing personal and professional development training, you will also have access to a leadership coach at your fingertips. That way, when you hit those inevitable challenges that leadership will bring your way, you'll have both the resources and the support to navigate your way through them with confidence, composure, and while keeping your integrity intact. To find out more, head to kathyarcher.com/library. If you are enjoying the show, I'd love it if you could leave me a comment or a review on iTunes or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Thanks for listening. Go make the rest of your day awesome.